What if I told you there's a place on Earth where you're farther from the ocean than astronauts in space are from land? That Canada's corners are closer to Norway than to each other? Or that you can sail straight from Pakistan to Russia without touching any land? These aren't science fiction fantasies. They're mind-bending geographical realities that will shatter everything you thought you knew about our planet. If you're ready to have your reality completely reconstructed, buckle up for this journey across Earth's most shocking secrets. Fact 1. The ultimate isolation point. Kazakhstan holds Earth's most isolated spot, the pole of inaccessibility, sitting 1,644 miles from any ocean. This remote location is so incredibly far from water that astronauts orbiting high above in the International Space Station are actually closer to land than this desolate point is to the sea. Geographers fought passionately for years about its exact location because they couldn't agree whether Russia's Gulf of Aab counted as ocean. Fact 2. China's single time zone. All of China operates on a single time zone despite spanning territory that should logically use 5 different time zones based on longitudinal distance. This political decision creates bizarre situations where sunset occurs at midnight in western regions, while eastern areas experience completely normal timing. Geography bows to governmental decree as China prioritizes political unity over astronomical accuracy, creating a country where clocks contradict the sun's position. Fact 3. The impossible distance paradox. Here's the mindbender that defies all logic. Earth's most isolated land point is only 27 miles closer to the ocean than the ocean's most isolated point is to land. This means the difference between ultimate terrestrial isolation and ultimate oceanic isolation is less than the width of a typical metropolitan city. A cosmic coincidence that challenges our understanding of planetary geography and statistical probability. Fact 4. Panama Canal's backwards logic. The Pacific entrance to the Panama Canal is actually located east of the Atlantic entrance, creating geographical confusion for millions of travelers and sailors. This mind-bending directional contradiction occurs because the Isthmus of Panama curves in an unexpected direction. Ships traveling west to the Pacific actually sail southeast, while eastbound Atlantic traffic heads northwest. The canal completely defies directional common sense, making east-west and west-east. Fact 5. The Norway connection. Canada's easternmost and northernmost points are both significantly closer to Norway than they are to each other across the Canadian landmass. In fact, these Canadian geographical extremes are also closer to Mexico, the United States, multiple European countries, and even Russia than to each other. Canada is so impossibly wide that foreign nations literally come between its own borders, creating geographical absurdity. Fact 6. China's European proximity. The westernmost point in China is actually measurably closer to Germany than it is to China's own easternmost point along the Pacific coast. At 4,700 kilometers to Germany versus 4,800 kilometers across China itself, this means Beijing is farther from western China than Berlin is. The Middle Kingdom is so incredibly vast it reaches toward Europe, creating transcontinental proximity that defies our mental maps of Asian geography. Fact 7. South America's eastern position. The entire continent of South America lies east of Orlando, Florida, creating a shocking revelation about continental positioning that defies most people's geographical intuitions. This means every single point in South America, from Colombia in the north to Chile in the south, sits farther east than Central Florida. Fact 8. Alaska's triple achievement. Alaska simultaneously contains America's northernmost, westernmost, and easternmost points in a geographical impossibility that confounds basic directional logic. This incredible achievement occurs because the Aleutian Islands cross the 180-degree longitude line, meaning Alaska reaches so far west that it literally wraps around the globe to become the easternmost state. One single state claiming 3 directional extremes completely defies fundamental compass logic and geographical common sense. Fact 9. Lake Baikal's freshwater monopoly. Lake Baikal contains nearly 25% of Earth's unfrozen freshwater, despite being a single lake in remote Siberia, demonstrating nature's incredible concentration of resources. This Siberian giant is simultaneously the world's deepest and oldest lake, holding more fresh water than all North American Great Lakes combined. Baikal alone could theoretically supply the entire world's freshwater needs for decades, making it our planet's most precious liquid treasure and strategic resource. Fact 10. Pakistan to Russia, ocean route. Despite being landlocked neighbors sharing no maritime borders, you can sail from Pakistan to Russia in a perfectly straight line without touching land anywhere along the route. This counterintuitive maritime route crosses the Arabian Sea, Indian Ocean, and Arctic waters while skillfully avoiding all continents and islands. Geography creates mysterious oceanic pathways where none should logically exist, defying our understanding of continental barriers and maritime navigation. Fact 11. Africa's almost quadrupoint. Near where Namibia, Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Botswana converge, there's almost a perfect international quadrupoint. 4 countries meeting at precisely one geographical spot. They missed this extremely rare geographical achievement by only 150 meters due to the narrow Caprivi Strip, a thin corridor that prevents perfect convergence. This frustrating near miss represents one of geography's most tantalizing almod, leaving cartographers eternally disappointed by such close proximity to perfection. Fact 12. Finland's growing land. Finland gains approximately 7 square kilometers of completely new land every single year due to post-glacial rebound effects from ancient ice sheets. As the Earth's crust slowly lifts following the melting of massive glaciers, Finland literally rises from the sea like a geological phoenix. This natural phenomenon means Finland's borders are constantly expanding without any human intervention, making it one of the few countries growing naturally without conquest or territorial disputes. Fact 13. Reno's impossible position. Reno, Nevada sits farther west than Los Angeles, California, despite being a landlocked desert city nearly 300 miles from any ocean. This mind-bending geographical reality means you can drive west from coastal Los Angeles and somehow end up farther east than where you started in Nevada. Reno is roughly 86 miles farther west than the coastal city Los Angeles, proving that our assumptions about coastal versus inland positioning can be completely backwards on America's twisted Western geography. Fact 14. Ancient nuclear reactor. Oklo, Gabon, hosted Earth's only known natural nuclear reactor approximately 1.8 billion years ago, long before any intelligent life existed on our planet. Concentrated uranium naturally achieved critical mass through geological processes, sustaining a low-intensity nuclear chain reaction for hundreds of thousands of years. This prehistoric atomic phenomenon occurred without any human intervention whatsoever, proving nuclear reactions existed long before intelligent life discovered atomic energy and harnessed its power. Fact 15. Earth's 3 equal parts. Our planet can be remarkably divided into 3 nearly equal areas: the Pacific Ocean alone, all other oceans combined, and all terrestrial land combined. Most surprisingly, land occupies the smallest of these 3 portions by surface area. The Pacific alone nearly matches all terrestrial surface area, demonstrating how water absolutely dominates our Earth, which should perhaps be more accurately called ocean, given this overwhelming aquatic dominance over solid ground. Fact 16. Chile's incredible stretch. Chile's extraordinary length could stretch from Istanbul all the way to the Arctic archipelago of Svalbard in northern Norway. This impossibly narrow but extremely long country demonstrates how Earth's diverse geography can create nations that resemble pencil lines rather than traditional territorial blocks. Chile is essentially a 2,600-mile-long coastal strip that completely redefines what we consider national shape and challenges conventional geographic thinking about country formation. Fact 17. Wallace Line's biological barrier. The Wallace Line separates Bali and Lombok. Tropical islands only 35 kilometers apart, yet hosting completely different flora and fauna, as if from the different planets. A deep underwater trench creates a permanent biological barrier, preventing species migration for millions of years despite close proximity. This invisible line divides Asian and Australian ecosystems more effectively than thousands of miles of ocean, creating nature's most dramatic biological border in minimal space. Fact 18. Appalachians versus Himalayas. The ancient Appalachian Mountains once rivaled today's Himalayas in height, before millions of years of relentless erosion gradually wore them down to gentle hills. These prehistoric peaks reached towering Himalayan proportions when they originally formed, demonstrating erosion's incredible transformative power over vast geological timescales. Today's rolling Appalachian hills were once Earth's most imposing and dramatically towering mountain range, rivaling any peaks existing today across our planet. Fact 19. Equatorial Snow Peak. Cayambe Volcano in Ecuador represents the only place on Earth where the equator crosses permanently snow-covered terrain throughout the entire year. At 18,996 feet elevation, this remarkable peak maintains snow and ice, despite sitting directly on the planet's hottest latitude line. It's the ultimate geographical contradiction between tropical location and Arctic conditions, where equatorial heat meets permanent ice in a stunning display of altitude overcoming latitude. Fact 20. The Straight Line Ocean Voyage. You can sail in a completely straight line from Newfoundland, Canada, all the way to South Australia without touching any land whatsoever for the entire journey. This incredible 12,000-mile oceanic highway remains completely unobstructed by continents, islands, or any solid ground throughout its entire distance. Fact 21. High-altitude nations. Lesotho and Rwanda are the only countries where every single point sits above 3,000 feet elevation, making them Earth's highest-dwelling nations by minimum altitude. Lesotho's lowest point exceeds 4,600 feet, making it higher than many mountain peaks in other countries around the world. These nations exist entirely in the clouds with no low-lying areas whatsoever, creating countries that literally live above the rest of the world. Fact 22. World's deepest canyon. Yarlung Shangpo Grand Canyon in the Himalayas is Earth's deepest canyon, slicing dramatically through the world's highest mountain range in geological contradiction. This remarkable formation creates a canyon deeper than the Grand Canyon while surrounded by peaks over 20,000 feet tall. It's essentially a reverse mountain, a massive chasm among giants, demonstrating how geological forces can create both extremes of elevation in immediate proximity. Fact 23. Triple continental divide. In Pennsylvania's small town of Coudersport, water from a single geographical point flows into 3 different oceanic watersheds: the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf of Mexico, and Great Lakes St. Lawrence system. This extremely rare triple continental divide means raindrops falling just inches apart end up in completely different oceans thousands of miles away. Fact 24. Tibet's global water supply. Rivers originating from Tibet's elevated plateau feed nearly half of the world's population through massive river systems flowing across continents. The Indus, Ganges, Brahmaputra, Mekong, and other major rivers all begin their journeys on this roof of the world, making Tibet the planet's most crucial freshwater source. This single elevated region literally sustains billions of human lives downstream, making it perhaps the most important geographical feature for human survival. Fact 25. France's surprising border. France's longest land border is surprisingly with Brazil, not Spain or any European neighbor, due to French Guiana's South American territory. French Guiana extends France's sovereignty into South America, creating a 730-kilometer border with Brazil that slightly exceeds the Franco-Spanish border. France literally reaches across the Atlantic Ocean to touch 2 continents simultaneously, making it both European and South American, defying simple continental classification. Fact 26. Beer Towel's abandonment. Beer Towel represents a patch of land between Egypt and Sudan, claimed by neither country in a unique territorial rejection. This terra nullius exists because both nations prefer to claim the larger, more valuable Halayeb Triangle instead, leaving Beer Tawil as one of Earth's few completely unclaimed territories. It's land that nobody wants, creating the opposite of territorial disputes, a place where countries actively avoid claiming sovereignty. Fact 27. Vulcan Point's nested geography. Vulcan Point in the Philippines sits on an island within a lake on an island within a lake on an island, creating nature's most complex geographical nesting doll. This remarkable formation exists in Taal Lake, where Volcano Island contains Main Crater Lake, which contains Vulcan Point. It represents the ultimate example of geographical recursion, where land and water alternate in ever smaller scales, creating a fractal-like pattern of alternating terrain types. Fact 28. The landlocked sea. California's Salton Sea is completely landlocked, yet called a sea rather than a lake, creating ongoing geographical naming confusion among visitors and locals. This accidental inland sea formed in 1905 when irrigation canals flooded a desert basin below sea level. Despite being a lake by every technical definition, local naming conventions create this persistent geographical contradiction that challenges our understanding of proper water body classification. Fact 29. Sweden's island count. Sweden possesses over 267,000 documented islands, more than any other country on Earth, creating an archipelago nation of unprecedented complexity. This Nordic country has more islands than most nations have cities, creating a coastline so incredibly complex, it's nearly impossible to measure accurately. Sweden is essentially more water than land, with islands scattered like confetti across its maritime territory, making it a sailor's paradise and cartographer's nightmare. Fact 30. Amazon's reversed flow. The mighty Amazon River once flowed west toward the Pacific before the rising Andes Mountains dramatically reversed its direction millions of years ago. This incredible geographical transformation redirected the world's largest river system, sending it east toward the Atlantic instead of its original westward course. Mountain building literally turned South America's water flow backwards, demonstrating how geological forces can completely reshape continental drainage patterns over time. Fact 31. Yellowstone's double chamber. Yellowstone's supervolcano contains two massive magma chambers beneath it. Not just one, as commonly believed by most visitors and even some scientists. The upper chamber sits 5 to 10 miles deep, while a deeper, larger chamber extends 20 to 45 miles down into the Earth's crust. This double-decker volcanic system makes Yellowstone even more geologically complex and potentially dangerous than previously understood, representing a layered threat beneath this popular tourist destination. Fact 32. Gravity Anomaly Bay. Hudson Bay in Canada has measurably lower gravity than surrounding regions due to post-glacial rebound and mass distribution effects from ancient ice sheets. The massive ice sheets that once covered this area depressed the Earth's crust, and as it slowly recovers, it creates detectable gravity variations. You literally weigh slightly less in Hudson Bay than elsewhere on Earth, making it a place where the laws of physics bend ever so slightly. Fact 33. Mountain-moving earthquakes. Major earthquakes can permanently alter mountain heights by measurable amounts, raising or lowering peaks through tremendous tectonic forces in mere minutes. The devastating 2015 Nepal earthquake shortened Mount Everest by approximately 1 inch, while other significant quakes have added height to various peaks worldwide. Earthquakes literally reshape our planet's skyline instantly, demonstrating how geological violence can permanently modify Earth's most prominent features and moments. Fact 34. Singing sand dunes. China's vast Gobi Desert contains mysterious, singing sand dunes that produce haunting musical sounds when sand slides down their steep slopes. These remarkable acoustic phenomena create melodies audible from miles away, earning them the poetic nickname "singing sands" among local populations. The exact scientific mechanism behind these natural concerts remains partially mysterious, creating an ongoing puzzle for acoustics researchers who study these musical geographical formations. Fact 35. Antarctica's triple extreme Antarctica simultaneously holds the records for being Earth's driest, coldest, and windiest continent, creating a triple crown of environmental extremes. Despite being completely covered in ice, it's more arid than many hot deserts, with some regions receiving absolutely no precipitation for millions of years. This frozen desert defies every assumption about ice-covered lands, proving that cold doesn't necessarily mean wet in the world's most inhospitable continent. Fact 36. Dead Sea's effortless floating. The Dead Sea's extreme salinity, 10 times saltier than regular ocean water, makes floating completely effortless for humans, creating a surreal swimming experience. The incredibly dense, mineral-rich water provides such tremendous buoyancy that sinking becomes virtually impossible for human bodies. It's essentially Earth's natural sensory deprivation tank, where gravity seems partially defeated by salt concentration, allowing people to read newspapers while floating motionlessly on the surface. Fact 37. Uruguay-Argentina island border. A natural land border between Uruguay and Argentina exists on a small river island, creating one of the world's most unusual international boundaries in miniature. This tiny island demonstrates how geography can create borders in the most unexpected places, even between neighboring countries that share extensive mainland boundaries. It's an international border you could walk across in minutes, proving that some of the world's most significant political divisions exist in surprisingly small spaces. Fact 38. China's population concentration. Despite China's massive territory spanning thousands of miles, an incredible 94% of its population lives in the eastern half of the country only. The vast western regions remain largely uninhabited, despite their enormous size and natural resources. This extreme demographic concentration means China's effective living space is much smaller than its actual geographic size suggests, creating one of the world's most dramatically uneven population distributions across such a large nation. Fact 39. UK's geographic culture map. The United Kingdom's lowland areas correspond strongly with English cultural influence, while highland regions preserve ancient Celtic cultures and languages with remarkable persistence. This geographic cultural correlation demonstrates how terrain actively shapes cultural identity, with mountains and hills serving as natural preserves for ancient traditions and languages throughout British history. Geography becomes culture as elevation determines ethnicity across the British Isles, creating cultural borders defined by topography. Fact 40. Britain's industrial geography. Coal-rich areas near rivers and sea access in Britain facilitated the Industrial Revolution by providing perfect transportation networks for moving heavy materials efficiently. This geological lottery, having coal deposits, navigable rivers, and ocean ports in close proximity, gave Britain the crucial geographic advantage that sparked global industrialization. The Industrial Revolution succeeded in Britain not just because of innovation, but because geography provided the perfect infrastructure for industrial development. So there you have it. 40 impossible truths that prove we're living on the most insane planet in the universe. But here's the real question. Which one broke your brain? Drop it in the comments. I'm reading every single one. And if you made it this far without your mind exploding, hit that subscribe button because, trust me, we're just getting started. Share this with someone who thinks they know everything about Earth. Watch their face when they realize they know nothing. Until next time, keep questioning everything. The impossible is everywhere.